friends, welcome. Welcome to Ask a Designer. It is Tuesday. I'm in a very cramped hotel room in New York City, but nothing will get in the way between me and you and my wonderful co-host, Izzy. Izzy, you're in Canada. You're at home, right? How the
I
heck are
am.
you?
I am good. How are you, Phil?
I'm excellent. Do you want to know why I'm so excellent and even peppier than normal on this beautiful Tuesday?
Please share.
Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen right now because I need the world to see what just happened in real life a few days ago. I had the distinct privilege of visiting some family in Ottawa. And Izzy, you count as family, and we just had the best time together.
Oh my
We
gosh.
had a great dinner. We caught up. This is audience, this is, and friends in the chat. This was our first time meeting in real life. Can you imagine?
It's crazy. It's like we were just two friends, like meeting again in person. To me, it didn't feel any
I
different
know.
than, it
I
was so
know.
fun. Yeah.
It was just perfect. We had a blast, anyways. Had to
hmm
kick off with that. Friends, you know what we do here on Ask a Designer. Izzy and I tackle real life client projects, real life, client challenges. So on my screen is our remixable template. We work from this puppy by adding kind of like the theme and the assets that are useful for you each week as we chip away at these projects. For today, Izzy is bringing one of her real life client projects to the table. And Izzy, I feel like you're going to do an amazing job of introducing the topic and what we're going to tackle today. So I'll hand it over to you.
Yes. So today we are working with Nosy Mag. Nosy Mag are a collective where they create events. They do some art exhibitions. They do some really cool publication, as we can see here. It's in a newspaper format, which some of you who knows like my engagement with the Ottawa Design Club, you might say, but hey, isn't that your competition? And to that, I say no, because there is enough room for all of the creative endeavors in this world. And I was very flattered when they invited me to work and design their their newspaper, which I have a really cool copy here. And of course, added some Izzy twist where you can see some gradients and fix the grid for them on the InDesign. I can actually show you all of that. So let's go to my screen. So here I
Let's
just
do
have
it.
like a few images so you can see more of the spread here. We have so much fun. And working with newspaper and print is a little complicated because the paper fibers are very like they absorb the ink. So you have to make sure that everything is boosted and very saturated just to make sure that we get that color. So this was a really cool challenge. And then, of course, we created some social media assets. I just gave them a lot of options here. Like this is announcing their art exhibition that was tied into the launch of their newspaper zine. Some beautiful quotes here and more stories. And here are some of the images from the event. So I really like this one here
I
because we
love
can
it.
see like where they're like holding the zine in their hands. And it was a really cool art exhibition here, which you can see stuff hanging out from the ceiling and all this. I want to jump quickly to InDesign. I just want to show you the like full document here. Basically, like what you see in the presentation, but bigger. It was just really fun. Let me actually add the grid for the grid lovers over there, the print lovers over there. I worked with a three panel grid and some like big margins. It was really cool.
It's so cool to see it in print. Paco put up
Yes,
that beautiful graphic first, and then we saw you holding it up, and now we're taking a peek at this in InDesign. I imagine we're going to be coming back to this. Izzy, should we hear from Alexia
absolutely.
directly?
Yes. So they have a big problem, and let's hear from Alexa so we can tackle
What's the
that design
problem?
problem. Yes, let's go.
Hi, my name is Alexia-Kokozaki, and I am one of the founding members of Nosy Mag. Nosy Mag is an art collective made up of creatives that come together to print publications, to host art markets, as well as exhibitions in the Ottawa-Gatineau region. In our latest publication, we had the absolute pleasure of having Izzy as our designer, and everything went very smoothly with the design process. I also had experience working with her as a co-curator on the Ottawa Design Club's 4th zine. And one reason why I've decided to come to you today is, as Nosy Mag, we've had fairly consistent engagement with our social media and digital content on different platforms. However, this last summer we noticed a slight drop in engagement, and we're wondering maybe it has to do with the kind of content or style or theme that we decided to go with. Maybe that had an impact. So, in order to counteract this drop of engagement, I'm hoping you both might have suggestions on how to resolve this. I'm excited for what's to come.
Thank you so much, Alexia. So this is something that I have noticed myself actually looking at their social. So if we can go to my screen, I can show you their Instagram, where if we hover on some of those posts, we can see that there's just a low engagement, like here, 26 likes. And compared to whenever they announce the event like this one, there's 92. So I feel here that it's a little bit repetitive, where because they have so many artists that they are showcasing and they're posting every day to keep that engagement. But maybe specifically for a Gen Z audience, maybe this is just too much repetition. And how can we condense that post and maybe do a shared post instead to get more views on everyone's platform? But we still need to make it very engaging. Like if I click on something like this, I mean, the artwork is stunning, but I'm missing some pieces, and there's so much going on down here, and we don't necessarily see the logo because it's like so small. So this is like small little tweaks that we will be doing today together.
This, I mean,
yeah.
This is such a beautiful brand. And the hard part is showing up, you know, post after, I was going to say day after day, but like post after post and being open. It's like, we all know we need to be active online. We need to show up, stay on people's radar. But so much of this is just making very minor tweaks to set us up for success. I also want to quickly shout out to all of our friends in the chat. We have Sarah, who I believe is the founder of Nosy Mag, right?
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
we're so happy
indeed.
you're here. We love when our clients on Ask a Designer actually show up in the chat. It makes it even more fun. So I see you over on YouTube. We have Idara, we have Ray, Aperva. We've got so many good people here across YouTube and across Behance. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat as we get busy to work here. Make sure you guys, as you have any questions. I saw one earlier that was, Phil and Izzy, how long have you known each other? Not a design question, just a personal question. We met this year. We only met when we first started working together. So us meeting in real life that's why it was so exciting. Why we had to talk about it first.
Yes. I mean, this is like all the amazingness in one show, essentially, right? It's right here. You can't go wrong with watching.
Look at this. So we're over in Photoshop, I believe. Yes.
Correct. So a little twist here, like I love to work personally in like multiple software at once to create like a very unique outcome at the very end. And today it starts in Photoshop. Now, don't you worry. I mean, you can watch a lot of streams if you're new to Photoshop. This is very easy. I'll make it as easy as possible. And again, there's a lot of streams that you can watch on Photoshop to learn whatever that I'm doing quickly here today. So I want to make just a quick animation. Now I could do it in Express, but it's just faster for me to do it here. So I have already worked on a gradient nose and I want to make that like a stop motion. So I have 5 different style of gradient for the nose, which I'm going to just copy paste and bring it all into like layers into one file. And I want to make sure that they are all aligned properly, that they are not moving around. Just do this.
I was like, at first, I was like, is that a guitar pick? Is that a nose?
It is a
Where is
nose
this
because
going?
Nosy Mag, right? Which is super fun. And it's
Here.
like they basically changed that color for every publication that they have. So the last one was a gradient. The more prominent color was blue, but their previous publication, I think we had purple, pink, and yellow, which was super cool. Now, hold on. It's
I
glitching.
love stuff
So
like that. I love even something like that, a gradient changing per publication. Izzy, you and I actually do that with Ask a Designer graphics. We
mhm.
slightly adjust the assets and the elements. I feel like that's something that keeps us creatives entertained and engaged.
Indeed. So for some reason, that file here was glitching. It's probably because I'm live streaming, but I was prepared because I have a backup file. So here I basically have all of the nose as layers right here. They are all different. Now, what I'm going to do is go to Window and click the timeline like click timeline, which this here at the bottom is going to pop up. Let me see if I can actually bring it up.
This is
Let me
cool.
bring
I
it
do
up.
not know how to do this. I'm excited. You've said to me
It's
before, like, Phil, I'm learning so much today when we talk about social media. Well,
yes.
honey, I'm learning from you today. I'm enjoying this.
So
I didn't even know about the timeline feature in Photoshop. Never used
it's
it.
really cool. So here at the very bottom, there is a hamburger menu. If you click on this, you can see you can make frames from layers. So you're going to click on that. And as you can see, like I have now 5 frame with all of the different color noses. So it's all at 0 seconds. I'm just going to hold shift, select everything, click that little like arrow down and go to 0.2 second. Now it's going to be very fast, but this is the effect that I want. So if I click play here, you can see that it's changing in a very fast stop motion. Now we can only work in video in Express. So what I'm going to do is I actually going to select all the frames, copy, not copy, but see there's that little plus here. And I'm just going to click like a bunch of plus, plus, like that. So then it creates like a very long video, quote unquote. And when I play it, it just has like that loop going,
That's so cool.
which is what we want. All right. So again, it took me what, like 2 minutes, not even to do this. Now, if we go to file and we go to export, at the very end, you can do render video. And it's probably going to take a second because I'm live streaming and I have everything open at once. But just
It
make
gets
sure
nervous.
it
It
gets
gets
nervous.
nervous. Yeah,
Yes.
shy.
Yes. I understand. So am I sometimes. So,
Yeah.
so there you go. We just want to make sure that this is MP4 now, and then you can click render. Again, in the essence of time, I have done that. So we won't be doing this today. And I'm just going to quit everything.
It's like we're in the kitchen doing a cooking show and we have
Exactly.
everything like a quarter cooked, a half cooked. So we're ready to just fling it in. By the way, I asked the chat, have you used the timeline feature in Photoshop? Ray says once before. Idara says I've used it before in Photoshop and I love it. It's just curious to know. That's a new one for me. I think I've imported, Izzy, I've imported like a video into Photoshop just to export a
Nice.
still, but I haven't actually created something with it. Now I know how to, thanks to
There
you.
you go. So here I just want to show that we have a really nice brand kit made up for Nosy Mag. Again, this is something that we usually work from every show. We usually have a brand kit. It's just easy to pull everything. Or if there's something missing, we just upload it right then, like click and drag in the library and we have everything going. Okay, so I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to go to Instagram story. Actually, no, that's not true. I want to have Instagram reel. So if I do view all,
They technically
Instagram.
would technically would create the same size of canvas, but what would be different are a few things. Templates, when you go to click on templates, for example, if that's something you're working from, if you've selected Instagram Reel, it'll default those types of templates versus Instagram Story, in case anyone's wondering. What happens?
I
The dimensions would
also
technically be the same.
It would, but I also wanted to make sure that I had the timeline up already. So if it was a post, then it would be static. So I would not
Yep.
have the timeline. And although this could be used as a story or it could be used as a reel, you basically are making like yourself your the work easier. So it's already in video,
Good
video
call.
format. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is upload the video that we have made for Nosy Mag, which is right here, and I'm going to upload it. Now, something to consider whenever, even though you have a transparent background in Photoshop and you're making a MP4, it's going to automatically have a background color, which in this case we have black, but that's fine because we can just use the remove background option. And it's crazy how good that is.
I agree. It's gotten so good.
So good.
Yeah, like it really just accurate, I find, from when that feature first launched. I feel like it's always worked well, but it's definitely gotten better and more precise.
Oh, it's insane. And of course it's thinking because it is like a 10-second video. So it just needs to analyze like all the frames essentially, but it's usually quite fast. So see, this is already looking really good. So let me just make that a little bigger. So if we press play, then we have our nose that is just like changing color, which is super fun. Now, what I would like to do next is actually have a background. So if I go here to media, I'm going to go to video and I want to match that aesthetic of the nose. So I'm going to do mesh gradient, which is something that I type often because it's already in my history. So there you
Hmm.
go.
We all have our little go-tos, those little features and certain effects that you might
Absolutely.
use over and over. Love it.
So there was this one that I really liked because I think that it really frames the nose like really well and it's fun. Let me just bring it back. So let me just make sure that there you go. So if we just press play again, it's a little chaotic, but again, I think for Gen Z, it's very much working because we have a maximalist kind of vibe going on. But the
Hmm.
colors are definitely clashing. So what I'm going to do, which I actually did not know we could do, but change the colors via effects for like a video. So I want to have something that is just a bit more aligned with the colors. So let's like try that again. And to me, see, this is already looking better.
You
Let's
bring up a
see.
good point that so much of what we can do in Express is not meant to replace our workflows and our favorite apps like Photoshop and Illustrator and others. But certainly there are some features that even if you're an experienced Express user, you'll land on some things like effects and adjustments, maybe some of the animations in there. Definitely when you're working in Express, give it a chance in terms of exploring maybe some of the areas that you haven't discovered yet. Quick actions are another one, Izzy. I find myself often
Mm-hmm.
converting file types, photos, and videos, even
We will
PDFs.
today too. We will do that today.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Again, yeah, we're not trying to express it's not meant to replace what you're doing in a lot of your favorite apps, but it's really meant to complement it. In some cases, you can just stay in one place.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Izzy adjusting the colors, the
Mm-hmm.
overlay is literally you did it in a few clicks.
In a few clicks. And here I added the logo, which has this really nice transparency and that like halftone texture, which I absolutely adore. And I just want to, again, see the full effect. This is something that whenever I'm working in motion, I'm not the best at it, but I press play very often just to have kind of like, okay, is this where I want this to be going? And yes, I mean,
Yes.
I like the fact that the logo is very much central. This is exactly what we noticed, but then everything else is happening around it, which is really cool. I can see that Alexia Kokozaki is in the chat on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you like
Yes.
it. And yeah,
We
okay.
got the whole crew here. Alexia,
It's
welcome.
so
You set
cool.
us up today for this very exciting collab. We appreciate it. Izzy, I love that you say yes, maybe even sometimes reluctantly to like movement type projects. Because isn't it funny? It's kind of like when you become someone as a designer, you become someone that's like a trusted go-to for something. You're not going to
Yes.
say, well, no, I can't do it. You're going to say, yes, I think I can figure that out.
Well, you know what? So this was actually, if I'm allowing myself to open up that door here, but whenever I started my freelance journey, I knew that I needed to surround myself with people that had different skill sets than mine. And because I worked in-house at the government, I did not know many creatives. So this is part of the reason why I started the Ottawa Design Club. It was to
Mm,
know more creatives and then surround myself with a lot of, different creatives. And now I can like confidently say if ever I need a web developer or photographer or whatsoever to complement the project that comes my way, I know exactly who to go to. And I know that
yep.
they will be doing it well, which is awesome.
You just did something very cool. One of my favorite features in Express. Talk us through what you're doing, which is our nice little rounded little circular text.
Yes. So a few steps that I like basically did ahead of time. This is something that if ever you're listening, Adobe Express, I want you to have like an all caps option so we can easily change the the title case or sentence case to our text. For because designers love that. But
Yes.
essentially, I typed my text and then I just clicked here, the text layout. And I like the new zine. Just again, this is going to act as a template for Nosy Mag. They can change that. It could be new exhibition, new, because they also do markets, like craft markets, which is so fun. So they can change that however they want. Now, I really want to make sure that there's like enough contrast. So I'm going to put that white and I'm going to bring it behind. And I want that to be animated. So I'm going to make sure that this is selected, go into loop, and I'm going to do a spin like so. So here, I'm just want to make sure everything is centered. And it's
You've got
okay
some,
if we're missing some letters because it's gonna be in motion. So
right. People will
yeah.
be able to read it when it makes a
Mm-hmm.
rotation. I was going to say, you've got some very happy clients so far. Alexia says the
Yeah.
new designs are exciting to see. Axel says, I love the offset effect. Great job. Anine says, nice. Robert is here. We got the whole gang together.
Amazing.
I think it's really interesting to explore, Izzy, us crafting a project with a very specific demographic in mind. And in this
Yes.
case, Gen Z. I don't think we've tackled that on any of our shows before. And you don't want to fall into stereotypes, right? Like this
No.
is, this is a stereotypical aesthetic for a certain demographic, but you do want to be, I almost said, you do want to be mindful, very demure.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not going there. It's over.
Is
But
it?
I
It's
just caught
already
myself.
over?
Oh, I want it to be over. I don't know if it is, but I want it to be.
That's so
But I like that
funny.
you're just kind of thinking, what feels vibrant, what feels exciting for this demographic. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, you're definitely achieving that.
So I think it's also knowing the personality, like having worked with them and being in the behind the scenes when working on the publication. I got to see some of the vibes essentially, like everyone's
Hmm.
personality, and then it's like trying to match that because that's why the community likes them so much. It's because that's the vibe that they are bringing. They're not fake about it, and that's like the beauty of this collective. So here I'm gonna say October 15, which I know it's during Adobe Max, but like again, this is just as a placeholder. They can change it however they want.
That's a good segue, by the way, friends in the chat or even watching the replay. Who are we going to see at Max? Izzy and I will be there together in real
Yeah,
life. We'll be there. So hopefully we
we'll
see
be
you. If you
there.
see us in passing, make sure you say hello. We're certainly getting excited. Oh my gosh, less than a month
Mm-hmm.
away. Less than a month
It's
away. Gonna be
insane.
in Miami.
This is crazy. So here, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. We have a call to action, then we have a date. It could be a sneak peek, right? If you wanted to have something at the background, which I mean, everything can go for the background here. It could be a photo of the artwork that is being presented. So here is, I'm pretty
Look
happy with
at
this.
that.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, my favorite part of this so far is that you've combined multiple movements, right? We've got the nose that's animated, we've got the text that's animated, but they work so beautifully together, and it just feels really exciting.
That is, yes, I mean, and that's exactly what we want the audience to feel, is getting them excited about something that is new and fresh. Now, the copy is definitely something that could be worked on. Like, get your copy could be like, get your next issue, or like hot off the press, not from the press, Phil, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah. That's an
I feel
inside
like,
joke that we'll make an outside joke.
yeah,
Izzy is
yeah.
often challenged with, okay, how do I make this look good, but also how do I make this make sense in English? And I just occasionally jump in and say, Izzy, this is the right way to say it. It's funny. That's
Hot
funny.
off the press. Here you go.
But
Let's
that's
like
a
add it
really
in.
that's a really good example, Izzy, what you just did right there. I just want to draw attention that it seems so simple, but hopping in and just simply adjusting the text. It's a text layer. Friends, that is so much harder to do in other more advanced apps and tools. You do not need to be,
Mhm.
graphically inclined to hop into Express and at least feel at home. I have a lot of my clients that are like, Phil, I don't know how to do what you do, but I say hop into Express, start from a template that your designer can provide you, or you even duplicating from a project that maybe they've designed for you, and being able to update text. Your designer can even put into place some of those guardrails to make sure that you stay on brand. I sometimes jokingly call myself the branding police, but there's a feature of we can right click on a text layer. There's the option to lock text, but there's also the option to lock and allow replace, which means the container, if you will, of the text will stay in place. The font and the styling will stay in place, and all
Oh,
you have to worry about is changing the actual text. So don't be intimidated. I feel like Express is really this amazing hub between, as I said earlier, we've got Photoshop and Illustrator and our favorite Creative
mhm.
Cloud apps. Izzy, the library that you mentioned earlier, you can make that and update
Mhm.
it in Illustrator, in Photoshop. Today, we're accessing it in Express, so a library spans all of those Creative Cloud apps. And a brand is something that you can work from specifically in Express to have your fonts and colors, styling options, even templates available in a single click.
So here I'm just trying to recreate. We had done like some sort of sub mark for the Dreams and Demand issue. So I'm just, trying to recreate that. It's not the exact font, but it's okay for what we want to do today. We had done something like that. Where
How
we had
closely
the
do you follow the brand? For in something like a zine or a publication, like I've actually wondered that. It's a little different than my world, which is usually personal branding, and we follow everything to a T. Whereas like when it's a more artistic project, right? You have to have
Mhm.
some space to be creative and not be too repetitive.
It's so it's like an event, right? It's you have to make sure that you mimic the vibes or like the messaging that you want to portray. So sometimes a font needs to be changed because it's like too harsh or too soft, or and fonts have a lot of personality. I mean, don't get me started on fonts because like we could have a whole show on that. So fonts often change. I'd say colors too, again, depending on what is being portrayed in the zine, and colors often have very strong emotions that are
Hmm.
attached to them. So let's say that the um like like in this instance the exhibition is very happy and it's supposed to like make you maybe feel a little uncomfortable but laugh it off at the same time, like maybe having like a really neon green with like a very fuchsia pink, which like the fuchsia will make you feel like happy and excited, but then that neon green could be associated with nosy body fluids. So that's like you get that kind of like that like juxtaposition between the both, which is again very Gen Z, right? Where we see a lot of flashy colors. And so I'd say that that's where you get into a sub brand. So you want to still keep the style, the styling, how you organize your page, how you display the information. And that's when the writing, the tone and style of the copy is very important, because that's what people will then associate the brand with. I hope I did a
Yes.
good explanation of that.
I mean, it's a somewhat abstract concept.
It
So, given
is.
that, I think you explained it really well. It might be an instance where a client that maybe has hired you originally to create a brand may come back to you and say, "Hey, Izzy, we need help creating this thing that's related to what we do. It's in the family, but it's slightly different." I sometimes, when I explain this to my clients, it's kind of like in the family of projects, right? If you have a brand, you're creating a sub brand that's almost like offspring, where it's like a sibling brand. So there's going to be
Yes.
similarities. They look related, but they each have their own personalities.
That's exactly it. So they can live on their own, but they also live as a family.
There you go.
Okay, so this here is
Family analogy and some strong photography, which, by the way, you keep bringing on your projects, and I love it.
It's all the same photographer. So massive shout out to Curtis Perry, who is just like the go-to photographer for this types of event, which is, yeah, he's the best. Feel like I kind of like, okay, so I love this photo because this is very intentional on how everything is positioned. Because let me just like zoom in a little bit. So we have the artwork. So people usually read, and it goes for everything. A design, it could be a post, it could be like a poster in triangles. So they usually start on the left because that's how it's specifically in America, that's how we read.
Yep.
And then they scan, they go to the bottom, and then they go up. If they were like scanning it from the other side, we have this beautiful individual here looking down at the logo. So they're directing where we should be looking. And then we see the art. So we understand the full concept and everything is framed properly. So this is something that I'm a little, you say you're a brand police, Phil. I am like a cropping police, because I will often say, okay, well, this is like, we're not seeing this with like, if it was like that, it would make your message stronger and stuff like this. And it's crazy again, how those tiny adjustments can make a full difference on how we're reading a social media post. So
Good point.
Because again, it's like if we go here, there's a lot going on. So I'm just like thinking that maybe we just need to strip things down, because whenever it's making like really good engagements, like only photos like this, good engagement. And also something I've noticed, and this is very much Ottawa, it's the same thing for the Ottawa Design Club. If there is people in it, automatic spike.
Yep.
So again, by having something here, Phil, I have not even invited you to this. Hold on.
I know. I was going to remind you in a moment, because I was going to hop in there and work on the same image and maybe use text to image or the remove feature to get that thermostat back there. Yeah, I was just going to quietly do that and see if you noticed. But you noticed I wasn't on there. Can I say something, though, about what you were just talking about? Go back to Instagram for a second. And I have to compliment you, Izzy, on your social media strategy hat right here, bopping between Express and the Instagram feed. Friends, there is so much insight we can learn from your existing posts. There is even, if this is helpful, there's even a free Google Chrome plugin that allows you to sort your Instagram reels or your TikTok videos by order of views. So I think it's called sort for TikTok or sort for Instagram. I might be paraphrasing that. But point is, you at this stage just want to consume the existing analytics and insights you have on your account. Typically for Instagram, we want to hone in on one metric per post. Not to say, obviously, they're all going to work together, but there are basically 4 actions someone can take on an Instagram post. It's not one or the other. As I said, it's a combination of them. But what do you want when you go to post on social media and Instagram specifically? You're probably after a comment, a share, or a save. Of course, we have likes, but that's definitely the least important metric. Izzy, it's still a useful metric when we're looking to see, okay, how is engagement? But I'm looking at this feed going, maybe we could be a bit more assertive in our call to action in the caption. We could also use a feature like ManyChat, or there are many other options, but I'm a big fan of ManyChat because it'll drive more comments in the post. And generally, Instagram will look at that kind of engagement, right? Especially a direct message interaction. Instagram will go, those two are friends. I'll make sure each of them see each other's posts. I'm generalizing here a little bit, but a DM interaction is hugely important and significant on a platform like Instagram. So just some additional insights there when I'm creating or I'm advising my clients to increase engagement on Instagram. Really think about what you're asking someone to do in your post and be very assertive with it. Ask a question that's easy for people to answer. Ask a question that's interesting for other people to read the responses. And chances are your user, your follower is going to hang out a little more in the comments section to see what other people have said.
So I guess also something to get it started would be to have like friends that you say, like you can have a group chat and say, hey, I just posted. Can you
can
go
do
and
that.
comment?
Yeah.
And just sometimes like that algorithm also picks it up and then it gets everything started. And so I've heard this working. I have not tried it myself, clearly, like the state of my social media, but something I'm planning on trying to see if that works.
Yep, you can. I would say that can become a little repetitive after a while if it's the same people commenting on all those posts. But if it's an important post, then it's not a bad idea to ask for some help. And really just keep it in mind when you go to post, you really need that strong call to action. Otherwise, people are busy, they're distracted, they're not going to take a meaningful action. So ask for it.
So now something that I would like to do is because they are repeating a lot of content where they're showing like different artists, I'm keen of having like a cover for a carousel that says like meet the artist or something like this, where all of the artwork can be presented under one. And if I'm not mistaken, Instagram just allowed us to have, I think, up to 20 images instead of 10 now, which is
That
a
is correct.
massive, massive game changer for a lot of us. So let's do this and have fun with it. So I'm like thinking on the fly here. So I actually want to have a cool background. So another mesh gradient.
She loves a mesh gradient. Also, Izzy, can I point out something cool?
Yes.
Stock is a really great placeholder for client projects. So I guess in this, I'm talking to designers. But if you're ever thinking, I need a placeholder video or image to represent like what my client should be adding for themselves, I often use Stock for that and say, hey, you can even pin it with a comment in Express and say, replace this layer or replace this element. My clients find that really helpful.
That is awesome. So here we have an awesome drawing. This is part of the Nosy Mag brand, and oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the name here. It is, Oh my gosh, please talk so direct while I find the name for this
Okay,
artist because
I'll
like
distract.
they
I'll
are great.
distract.
Yeah.
You're gonna find it. She's reading the
Yeah.
newspaper. We're going
Yes.
real old school here. In fact, Izzy, if you can click, well, we can stay on your screen, but if you click one back, I duplicated the previous project and got rid of the third. Izzy, you're supposed to be reading the
Nice.
newspaper. Go read the
Oh, okay.
newspaper.
All right. I mean,
Friends,
I have it.
okay, I just used remove object. If you click on the image, Izzy, just while we're on this slide, I know you're entertaining me today. You'd entertain me every day. But look, so friends, this might be new for you. Remove object and insert object are now separate. If you had used generative fill previous to this, it was one action. Now in Express, it's separate. So you can imagine what I did. I duplicated the layer, Izzy, in case it didn't work well, but it worked like a charm. The previous image had a thermostat. This one removed it. Literally simple click done. Just enough time for you to find the name in the newspaper.
Perfect. So here, if we go back here, it is, and I'm probably going to butcher that, but it's Emily Neufeld, who like has been designing some really cool nose people. That is like part of the brand for Nosy Mag.
Cool.
Here we have like the full back of the newspaper is just like people hanging out on clouds because it's dreams and demands. So they're just kind of dreaming in the sky, which is so cool. And they're just something that keeps coming back in every publication. So having them as like, again, this anchor for the audience to recognize that this is a Nosy Mag post, if it's being shared, is good because we don't have to put the logo on everything. If anything, the logo on everything can be seen as aggressive.
Izzy,
Phil,
get
maybe
on a
you can.
podium and say that for everyone. Friends, this is the most important thing to take away from our hour today, particularly for this audience. I have to say it to my clients what feels like at least once a day. Even though you probably have a beautiful logo, if you worked with Phil or you worked with Izzy, it doesn't need to go on everything because it starts to feel like a commercial, particularly for the audience that we're targeting today, Gen Z. The minute there's a logo slapped on every single thing, it feels like a commercial. It feels like an ad. And they are trained. We are trained, not just this demo, but all of us are trained to go, nope, that's an advertisement. Shut off. Right.
Exactly.
And so particularly for social media, that is super, super important.
It is. And when it's being shared, no matter what, we have the avatar, so we see where it's coming from. I'm guessing now with the shared post, though, like it's harder to see. But if people click on it, which the post should be engaging enough, so people clicks on it and comments and bookmark it, it's gonna do its job that way. So here,
Absolutely. It's like social media. Let's go back to the very beginning. It was meant as a tool for conversation, not for broadcast. So slapping your logo on everything kind of feels like broadcasting, whereas what's so much more important is that human connection. Even Izzy, that beautiful motion graphic you created at the beginning, since I know we have the client in the chat today, you can use that as the first few seconds of your real content and hop on with iPhone video. It doesn't need to be fancy. If it's for Gen Z, it's better if it's not fancy, actually. And how cool that that little graphic element is easy to update, easy to change the text layers, but that's something that you could easily have as part of your real content that takes some pressure off of you to have to worry about, filming yourself and doing a dance and doing all these things. And all of that's easy to bring to life and express. Looking good.
And something else to mention too here is that this is a volunteer endeavor, like Nosy Mag. So they all have like full-time jobs and they do this after hours. So something that is easily like that they can easily update, that won't take time, that they can even schedule directly from Adobe Express is definitely something that will like make their lives a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to see if I can kind of like make it sit like that.
One feature I've been talking about recently in Scheduler is the ability to create drafts. So this is like a little pro tip, scheduler can become your holding place for content that you can also repost. I've heard it said before. I give a shout out to Liz Mosley, our friend who's often on Adobe Live as well. But Liz said that she'll duplicate a post in the scheduler and come back to it 2 or 3 months later and either repost it or make some minor changes to it to bring it to life back in Express. And scheduler can kind of become this holding place of the content that you can, duplicate and either repost directly or make some minor adjustments. And it takes pressure off of you to constantly have to keep coming up with new content ideas.
Oh my gosh, this is the dream. Okay, here. I'm finding that just having the gradient is not necessarily, like, it's not filling the space. And I kind of like the idea that we have like a art exhibition like vibe when we're saying meet the artist, because this is like, hey, we're presenting you the people that we are featuring. Let me just unlock this. And I'm going to just play with the opacity.
Ooh.
Like that. But now I need to move that image a little bit. So it's not, there you go. Again, that the framing, like I don't want it to be an issue for when we read meet the artist.
You made a good comment earlier, since I know we have the client hanging out in the chat, that any of the images that you've noticed have performed well on their Instagram typically have faces. They're typically people.
I'm just trying to see. Oh, yes, I like this. Okay, so I added a grayscale effect on it. So it just makes that gradient pop a lot more. And I just want to see
battling.
Exactly. And I'm wondering, since we have this little fella here, white, I kind of like the high contrast. Maybe I can change the effect of the gradient itself. Just so, sometimes just testing out. I like the warm, like orange here. What do you like most, Phil?
I like the last few that you've clicked. If it were me, I'd probably try a few of them and then say to the client, hey, here are your options, and give a few examples. Like you're kind of like creating the playground for your client to say, this is on brand, this is not on brand. This is actually something that could easily go into like a brand guidelines document potentially.
Since we have been working with a lot of blue hues in the previous zine, let's go with this one. I think it works really well. And I want to see, I just want to quickly see how it looks white. Is it more? No, to me it's like, maybe I will flip it around.
Ooh.
Because then it's crazy, just because it's darker here, we don't have text. It's lighter here and we do have text. That little flip just makes it a bit more readable. Simple change. Like that. I feel like it's missing something here. Trying to think.
I mean, you could potentially move the text if you wanted, unless you want to keep it centered, but you might be able to just...
Maybe it's like a call to action, like swipe to see or something like that.
You could do that. Yeah. Or even just put a little arrow. Sometimes I just put an arrow so people know to keep going.
Let's do that. So you would go, yeah, please.
Yeah. What you would, well, let's keep it on your screen. You can do that. You can type arrow and it's going to give you a few different options. I typically, I go to shapes for arrows. So arrows, the ones that you find in shapes are completely adjustable. These are completely vector, essentially. So you can scale them up as big as you want. You also have control over the colors and in some cases the dimensions. So as if you were to like pull that arrow longer, you don't need to, but you could extend that easily and it's going to, it should adapt. So when you, friends, if you're using arrows in Express, I recommend pulling them from the shapes menu so that you have complete control of them, like you might somewhere like Illustrator. Look at that. How about that for a little demo? So you just extend it and it still maintains the same arrowhead.
And it's also framing the word artist, which is what we are introducing right now. So then for a carousel, this would be the cover, but then like I would probably just add more squares and then add all of the artworks, which we can do. It's like, it would be super easy here to go to media and then upload. And I have some art here that was featured.
You brought up a good point earlier that now Instagram allows up to 20 images in a carousel, but don't let that stress you out. Just because you can post 20 doesn't mean you should. For example, if you're really stretching and a post is less engaging in the last half of a carousel, then that could arguably work against your engagement. So again, just because 20 is the max doesn't mean you need to fill all 20 carousel slides. Finding now that a lot of people are still sticking with that, like maybe 8 to 12, maybe even 6, 7 to 12 range. So don't feel pressure to have to fill all of those.
Exactly. And to me, this here is much more interesting when I only see the artwork, and Phil, maybe you can challenge me on that if you don't agree, than having something on top with a logo, with a name. And I understand that the need to introduce, but see, introducing personally is not something I would do in a post. I would do it in a caption. I would introduce via a story instead. So very easy for us here to just go to we will go duplicate page, and then let's just resize to an Instagram story like so, and then we can add the name very easily.
It will help, since the challenge today was about engagement. It's a better idea to have someone go to your caption, read, also be able to read in text form, right? Let's say someone's reading from another language. They have the ability to translate it on the platform. I am completely aligned with you, Izzy, that it's always a better idea to put the majority of text actually directly in the caption. And in this case, keep the image more about the art. And think of your captions. People would be like, do you still need to use a ton of hashtags? You can still use hashtags, but Instagram's algorithm is so smart that it doesn't really need you to categorize the content for it, which is what we used to do. Instagram knows, with all of these AI developments and such, Instagram really knows what your post is without you telling it. And so it makes more sense nowadays to go into a little bit more detail in your caption. Think of it as like a mini blog post. And this post would be perfect for that.
And here you can just adjust the name to where it fits really well, like where it, again, where it's being framed with the artwork. So it also gives like a bit more flexibility to the client. I know we have just a few minutes left here.
We do, but it's pretty amazing what you've done in the last like 5 minutes. We love a good duplicate and resize moment, Izzy. I feel like that's like, we should just name the last 5 minutes of our show Duplicate and Resize. Look at what else you can do with these great creations. But I do love how in Express, it's easy to take what you've already created, maybe what you've worked hard to create, be it a template or a post, duplicating and resize, even being able to choose multiple canvases at once. And sure, it might not be perfect when you duplicate and resize it, but all of your elements are on the canvas, and it might just be a matter of resizing, which I think you've done a beautiful job of illustrating just there, Izzy. Look at what we have created today.
I want to play this again.
Yes, play it again, and that'll be like our finale.
There you go. And this, something that I want to mention, if we wanted to add a voiceover, you could go to audio, and then the crew even could say, hey, we are having this new zine. And I know that most of them actually like write their articles, so they could have like a fun audio quote on it where they record themselves, and it's like that added like level of engagement. So there's a lot of cool stuff to be done here.
different projects for different platforms and sizes, scheduling your content, narration. Friends, you've seen us, mostly Izzy, but I'm going to say us,
Us.
accomplish a whole lot in the last few minutes. Sarah and Alexia are guests of honor today in the chat. You are representing the brand. You're representing Nosy Meg, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. Friends watching the replay, let us know what you think. What have you learned today? Hopefully, Express becomes your go-to hub, your creative hub for your projects. And Izzy, we have some exciting updates and news. We're going to be back. I think it is almost weekly now until Max and thereafter. So next week,
Yes.
yes, good. I mean, we love it because we love hanging out with you. So next week's project will be tackling a logo creation directly in Express for my client, Lisa. So we'll see you back next Tuesday. Thank you for being so engaged in the chat. We really appreciate you. And stick around today on Adobe Live for some great content coming up. See you soon, Izzy. Thanks, friends.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.